The video begins like hundreds of others from solo travelers. A slow pan across a vast Icelandic canyon, mist curling along black volcanic ridges, wind cutting softly through the phone's microphone. Then, barely visible, something else. Just for a second, a human-shaped figure, unmoving, alone on the ridge across the canyon, no motion, no context, just there. Then the phone drops. There's a half-second glimpse of hiking boots, a scrape of gravel, a breath caught mid-gasp, static. The video ends. That was the last time anyone saw Lauren Avery, 27 years old, alive. Her parents didn't know she was missing yet. Her best friend thought she was offline because of Iceland's weak cell coverage. But by the time search teams reached the spot marked in her phone's metadata just north of the Fimmvörðuháls trail between Skogar and Thorsmork, there was no sign of Lauren, no figure, no phone, no Lauren. All that remained was a screenshot, a frame pulled from her final Instagram story, uploaded sometime around 8:07 p.m. local time. It showed the canyon, the ridge, the shadowy silhouette, and then nothing. No one responded to her last message, and no one has been able to explain what the figure was or how Lauren vanished in one of the most visually documented hiking regions in the world. The case haunted Icelandic media for weeks, but for her family in Portland, Oregon, the silence stretched into years. Because what makes Lauren's story so disturbing isn't just the fact that she vanished on a trail thousands hike every year. It's the feeling that she was watching something, or someone, right before she was taken. That final story was supposed to show a natural wonder. Instead, it captured a mystery, a human shadow with no source, a digital footprint that ends at the edge of a cliff, a woman who had no reason to disappear and every reason to come home, and a question no one can answer. What happened to Lauren Avery on that trail, and who or what was standing on that ridge? Lauren Michelle Avery was born on February 3, 1998, in Bend, Oregon. The middle child in a close-knit family of 5, Lauren grew up surrounded by mountains, rivers, and the sprawling high desert of Central Oregon. Her father, Tom Avery, worked as a structural engineer. Her mother, Janelle, was a high school guidance counselor. Her siblings, older brother Mason and younger sister Lily, described Lauren as the quiet spark of the family. Not the loudest, not the boldest, but always the one with a plan. From a young age, Lauren had an eye for composition. As a child, she used a hand-me-down Nikon to photograph moss-covered logs, sunlit hiking trails, and her sister's ballet recitals. She didn't just take photos, she crafted them. Every image had balance, intention. It was no surprise when she later majored in visual media at the University of Oregon. After graduating in 2020, she worked briefly for a travel magazine based out of Seattle, freelancing, photography, and copywriting. But like many during the pandemic, Lauren reevaluated her path. In late 2021, she quit her desk job and decided to pursue full-time content creation. Her parents were hesitant, but supportive. She wanted to live a life that felt meaningful, her mother said. To create, to explore, to not get stuck. Lauren's travel Instagram account, @LaurenUnfiltered, slowly grew traction. Her feed was clean, moody, curated without feeling sterile. No filters, no viral gimmicks, just raw, natural beauty and a consistent tone of reflective solitude. Waterfalls in Washington, snowy trails in Montana, fjords in Norway. She shared her location only after leaving it, a rule she set for safety. "Alone doesn't mean unsafe," she once wrote. "It just means I listen more deeply to the world around me." By spring of 2024, Lauren had 84,000 followers, modest by influencer standards, but her audience was engaged. She did occasional brand deals, mostly with outdoor gear companies and ethical travel brands, but avoided anything that didn't align with her values. Her captions were often minimal, sometimes poetic. She never chased controversy. She replied to DMs selectively. She used 2 phones, one for shooting and editing, another for personal use and secure backups. Lauren's best friend, Isha Patel, described her as impossibly steady. You could tell her the house was on fire and she'd ask where the fire extinguisher was. They met in college and remained close even as their lives diverged. Aisha became a pediatric nurse in Portland, while Lauren drifted further into the wilderness. Her family says Lauren wasn't reckless. She carried a Garmin inReach Mini 2 satellite communicator. She logged her trips. She registered with local ranger stations when available. She took self-defense classes and refused to drink when traveling solo. She didn't tempt fate, her brother said. She respected it. Lauren had a habit of checking in with her mom every Sunday night, even if it was just a text. She journaled almost obsessively, handwritten pages in slim moleskins she stored in waterproof sleeves. The last one she filled, later recovered from her Airbnb in Reykjavik, ended 2 days before she vanished. No foreshadowing, no change in tone. The last full entry read, "The air here hums in a different frequency, like everything's been scraped clean. I can't tell if I feel small or safe, maybe both." Lauren's disappearance didn't just fracture her family. It splintered her online community. Strangers who had never met her posted heartfelt tributes. Photographers recreated her shots in solidarity. Hikers around the world asked the same question. If someone as careful, experienced, and grounded as Lauren could vanish, what does that mean for the rest of us? Lauren's trip to Iceland had been on her mind for years. She first mentioned it in an Instagram Q&A in late 2022, calling it her dream hike destination. Not for the trendy Blue Lagoon or the Ring Road, she wasn't interested in tourist loops. What drew her were the volcanic ridges, hidden waterfalls, and glacial valleys you had to work to reach. She booked the trip in January 2024 and arrived in Reykjavik on May 17th after a red-eye from Portland International Airport. Flight records confirm she flew Icelandair FI 664 to Keflavik International, arriving just after 6:00 a.m. GMT. Her phone pinged an Airbnb Wi-Fi signal in Reykjavik by 8:15. She stayed in a small second-floor flat in the Vesterberg district, close to the harbor. Her host, a woman named Dora, described her as kind, quiet, and very prepared. Lauren spent 3 days acclimating, visiting grocery stores, repacking her gear, and mapping out trails. She shared a short Instagram reel on May 19th featuring aerial shots of Skagafoss, Seljalandsfoss, and the edge of Eyjafjallajökull volcano. It was tagged Hatch Scouting and had no caption. The reel ends with a single frame, her hiking boots resting on black gravel, glacier wind whipping through her pants. Her planned route, as reconstructed by Icelandic SEIAR, search and rescue, and confirmed through messages, was the full Fimmvörðuháls Trail, a 25-kilometer hike from Skógar to Þórsmörk, passing between the glaciers Eyjafjallajökull and Mýrdalsjökull. The trail is rugged, elevated, and stunning, often snow-covered in May. She planned to complete it in 1 day, starting early and exiting via the Langadalur Hut trailhead, where she'd booked a return ride. Lauren registered her route via the Safe Travel Is app, a system used by hikers in Iceland to log plans and enable emergency response. She selected May 22nd as her hike date, with an estimated start time of 6:30 a.m. and end time of 4:30 p.m. She listed her Garmin as her emergency contact device and named her mother as the U.S. fallback contact. This was standard protocol for her. Photos from her phone, later extracted during the investigation, show she carried a North Face day pack, Canon EOS R7 camera with wide-angle and telephoto lenses, Garmin satellite beacon, emergency bivy sack, 3,000-calorie rations, water purifier, layered weatherproof gear, power banks, and both smartphones, journal and pen. On May 21st at 11:42 p.m., she messaged her best friend Aisha. "Tomorrow's the big one. Forecast looks windy but clear. I've got everything. I'm good." At 5:49 a.m. on May 22nd, her Garmin device sent its first track point from the trailhead near Skógar. GPS pings continued every 30 minutes. Her Instagram posts that morning were minimalist, but breathtaking. A story at 7:08 a.m. showed the Skógar River, the caption reading, "Alive." At 9:47 a.m., another story showed a glacial ridge just before. The trail crosses the lava fields formed by the 2010 Eyjafjallajökull eruption. The wind can be heard howling. At 11:30 a.m., she texted her mom, "Signal spotty, moving slower than I thought, views insane." It would be the last direct message she ever sent. The final story posted to her account went live at 8:07 p.m. local time. According to Instagram metadata, it was uploaded via mobile data, suggesting she reached an altitude high enough for a signal. The footage is less than 5 seconds long. It begins with a pan from left to right over a deep canyon. The sky is overcast. The horizon blurs. In the final second, the camera jerks slightly, focuses, then captures a figure standing on the far ridge. Still, upright, tall. The phone drops. It's unclear whether she posted the story before or after that moment. Forensic techs later confirmed that the metadata matched Icelandic time and hadn't been altered. Her ride never picked her up in Thorsmork. Her Garmin never sent the final end hike beacon. Her backup phone, left in the Airbnb, was untouched, and no one has been able to find the figure in the video or explain where she went after that last transmission. May 27, 2024 was a cold but clear day on the southern coast of Iceland. Wind gusts reached 35 km/h at higher altitudes, but visibility remained sharp into the late afternoon. Dozens of hikers logged routes along the same trail. Most completed their treks without incident. Only one failed to return. At 6:15 p.m., an off-duty park ranger, Gudmundur Eiríksson, passed a lone hiker near the southern edge of Morinshæti, a broad, flat stretch of lava rock roughly 16 kilometers into the Fimmvörðuháls trail. He described the woman as moving deliberately but slowly, hood up, camera around her neck, eyes scanning the horizon more than the path. He didn't interact with her directly, but noted she looked experienced. That woman matches Lauren Avery's description. That was the last confirmed sighting. At 8:50 p.m., when Lauren's scheduled ride service arrived at the Langadalur Hut trailhead, she was nowhere to be seen. The driver, accustomed to delays and miscommunications, waited 40 minutes before departing. He assumed she'd taken a wrong trail or arranged alternate transport. By the next morning, Janelle Avery, Lauren's mother, noticed something was off. Her daughter's Garmin had not sent the standard end-of-hike location ping, nor had she texted. At first, Janelle assumed weak signal or a dead battery, but by noon on May 23rd, with still no update and no online activity, she grew increasingly anxious. She contacted Aisha, who checked Lauren's social media. That's when they saw the final story and the figure. At 1:37 p.m. Pacific Time, Janelle contacted the U.S. Embassy in Reykjavik. Icelandic SAR was alerted by 11:06 p.m. GMT. Search operations began at first light on May 24th. The trailhead at Skógar was closed to new hikers. Helicopters were deployed. Drones and dogs covered the route from both ends. Rangers stationed near Thorsmork confirmed no sign-in from Lauren. A sweep of huts and emergency shelters revealed nothing. She had vanished without triggering her SOS beacon, without leaving a trace. Her in-reach device, previously pinging like clockwork, had stopped transmitting after 3:36 p.m. on the 22nd. That location put her just east of Heljarkambur, a steep and narrow section notorious for its high winds and loose footing. If something happened to her after that point, there would have been no way to trigger a distress signal manually. On May 25th, her Airbnb host reported that Lauren had not returned. Her backup phone was still charging on the nightstand. Her passport was in her hiking jacket. Her gear bag remained zipped. Nothing was missing except what she wore on the hike. Authorities reviewed the metadata of her last Instagram upload. The video had been uploaded using weak 3G reception at a high-altitude cell handoff zone between two towers, one near Skógar, another east of Götaland. That placed her somewhere between mile 18 and 21 of the trail, within reach of the final steep descent into Thorsmork, the Bitarisised. Video, retrieved by investigators via Lauren's account, caused immediate concern. In it, the canyon view is ordinary at first glance, but the presence of a solitary figure, dark, vertical, unblinking, on a distant ridge doesn't match any other hikers spotted that day. Zooming only degrades the image. The silhouette stands apart from the trail, where no paths are marked. By May 26th, public interest began to grow. Icelandic news outlets published the frame. Social media erupted with speculation. Was it a hiker, a shepherd, a visual glitch, a person in distress? A digital forensics expert hired by Lauren's family later confirmed that the figure appeared consistent in 2 consecutive frames. "It's not a smudge, not a bird, not a camera artifact," he stated. "It's vertical, human-shaped, standing still." But the figure was never identified. Back in Portland, the Avery family went from hopeful to frantic. Lauren's brother flew to Iceland to join the search. Her father stayed behind to coordinate outreach and fundraising. Aisha managed Lauren's accounts, fielding messages from strangers who claimed to have seen similar watchers on remote trails, messages that only deepened the uncertainty. By May 30th, Icelandic authorities downgraded the search to a recovery mission. No new data, no physical evidence, just a string of frozen GPS pings and one final disturbing video. The worst part for the Averys wasn't the lack of answers. It was that Lauren, a woman who planned everything, seemed to disappear in the one moment she had finally lowered her guard to share something beautiful. From the moment Lauren Avery was declared missing, the response was urgent, methodical, and ultimately, hauntingly futile. On May 24, 2024, at 6:15 a.m., the Icelandic Association for Search and Rescue, ICSAR, launched their first wave of teams. The operation was codenamed Operation Ridgefall. It mobilized over 80 volunteers, 2 helicopters, 3 drones equipped with thermal imaging, and multiple ground teams with tracking dogs flown in from Akureyri. The weather cooperated initially, but the terrain did not. The Fimmvörðuháls Trail, though popular, is harsh. Sudden cliffs, shifting fog, ice-capped ridges, and long stretches without clear landmarks. Lauren's most recent GPS ping, logged at 3:36 p.m. on May 22nd, placed her less than 5 kilometers from the Langadalur trailhead. That narrowed the zone. But something didn't add up. Investigators plotted her GPS trail over the previous 9 hours. Her pace was steady, deliberate, averaging just under 3 kilometers per hour. No erratic movement, no pauses longer than a few minutes, no deviation from the mapped trail until the final transmission. That last ping was 420 meters off the official route. Not far, but not on the path either. The slope in that area was treacherous, descending into a ravine called Vanargil, known for sudden rockfall and no clear exit trail. Yet no signs of a fall were found. No torn gear, no drag marks, no blood, no evidence of a slide. Drone sweeps targeted every crevice and outcrop. Flare thermal scans at night returned no body heat. The dogs found nothing. A week later, searchers rappelled into the canyon itself. All they retrieved was an empty black glove stuck between basalt rocks. It didn't match any in Lauren's inventory. On May 29th, ICSAR brought in geolocation specialists to analyze satellite data in collaboration with the Icelandic Coast Guard. No signs of movement were detected after 4:00 p.m. on the 22nd. No unusual animal activity, no flares, no signals. The team also reviewed weather patterns. At 5:00 p.m. that evening, a strong gust front moved through the valley with documented wind speeds of 55 to 60 mph in exposed areas. It was enough to knock someone off balance, but unlikely to displace an experienced hiker unless they were already in a precarious position. Parallel to the physical search, digital investigations began. Lauren's Instagram and Gmail accounts were accessed under family consent. Her cloud backups included partial image data from earlier that day. The files contained photos not posted publicly, high-resolution shots of volcanic rock formations, zoomed-in ridges, and a particularly eerie panorama taken at 3:11 p.m. It showed a fog bank rolling through a lower ravine and something else. In the far distance, a black vertical shape, the same ridge as the Instagram story. The figure, possibly the same one, appears in both. That was the first clue the figure might have been watching her for hours. No identifying features. Could be confirmed. Pixel stretching only blurred the outline. It had no motion blur, no light distortion, just standing there. Interpol and local police ran facial recognition scans against hikers registered in the area. Nothing matched. No missing persons reported that day. No other hikers reported seeing a person standing still on a ridge. ICE-SAR volunteers, after viewing the footage, informally nicknamed the silhouette the Sentinel. On June 3rd, U.S. Embassy officials joined the effort. They brought in a forensics analyst from the FBI's Behavioral Analysis Unit who reviewed Lauren's digital footprint. His conclusion? There's no indication Lauren planned to vanish, no signs of suicidal ideation, no gaps in preparation, no financial stress, no secrets in her digital history. If she vanished voluntarily, she covered her tracks better than anyone they'd ever profiled. On June 5th, Lauren's brother Mason and family friend Tyler Nordstrom began their own search. They hired a private drone operator from the Netherlands who specialized in high-risk terrain surveys. The drone covered 60 kilometers over 6 days. No movement, no remains, just rocks. Ice, silence. Meanwhile, a disturbing pattern emerged. Multiple hikers from the week surrounding Lauren's disappearance contacted Icelandic authorities. Some posted anonymously on Reddit and travel forums. The stories varied, but a theme repeated. A lone figure watching from a distance. No eye contact, no movement, just presence. Disappearing when approached or when sightlines broke. None could provide photo evidence, but the consistency was unsettling. One American hiker who'd been on the trail 2 days before Lauren posted, "There was someone on the ridge when I stopped to pee, just standing. I waved, no wave back. I assumed it was a statue or marker, but when I looked again, it was gone." Authorities investigated every claim. No verifiable proof. The only physical evidence remained. The final GPS ping. The last Instagram story. One black glove. Her missing Canon camera. A ridge no one could safely reach on foot. After 12 days, Operation Ridgefall was scaled down. Teams withdrew. The Averys stayed behind. Tom Avery walked the trail himself, retracing his daughter's route. He reached the overlook from her video, stood in the exact spot. There was no ridge across from it, only a slanted rock face that ended in air. Tom described it as a trick of angles. You stand there, you think there's depth, but there's nothing there. So either Lauren filmed a ghost or someone was standing on a ledge that doesn't exist anymore. By June 18th, with no new leads, the Icelandic National Police reclassified the case as an open but inactive investigation. The family returned to Oregon, and Lauren Avery remained a void surrounded by signals. By midsummer 2024, with the official search winding down, the public narrative around Lauren Avery's disappearance fractured into competing theories, each grounded in partial facts, each shadowed by uncertainty. The official theory: misadventure and accident. Icelandic authorities, while stopping short of declaring Lauren dead, presented the most conventional explanation. She strayed off trail, lost her footing, and fell into one of the deep ravines that crisscrossed the last third of the Fimmvörðuháls trail. Wind, exhaustion, and poor footing could explain a fatal misstep. In high-altitude terrain, a single fall can end in disappearance. This would make sense, if not for the missing body, the GPS anomaly, and the unexplained final video. ICE-SAR teams were adamant that most falls leave signs: a pack, clothing, disrupted rock, or at minimum heat traces during initial sweeps. Lauren's last known GPS ping did not indicate sudden motion or sharp descent. It simply stopped. The criminal theory: stalking, abduction, or foul play. The most emotionally difficult theory for the family to consider, and the one supported by many online, is that Lauren may have been targeted. The logic is unnerving but plausible. She was a known figure. Her Instagram often tagged locations, even if only after leaving them. Her visual style was minimalist, but a dedicated follower could trace her movements. Iceland, while one of the world's safest countries, is not immune to predatory crime. And on isolated trails, even a single bad actor can cause irreparable harm. Investigators reviewed security footage from Reykjavik, local bus stations, and rental car companies. No suspicious followers, no tailing vehicles, no known violent offenders active in the area. But one Icelandic SAR team member, speaking anonymously, expressed concern. That figure in her video didn't move. It didn't wave. It didn't respond. I've been up there. That's not a place you stand to enjoy the view. That's a place you wait. Was it someone waiting for her? If so, how did they vanish? Why leave no trace? And how would a stalker know to intercept her at mile 20 of a remote trail? The psychological theory: fugue state or intentional disappearance. Another theory, though less accepted by professionals, suggests Lauren may have experienced a dissociative break, a fugue state, causing her to wander off, confused, and possibly hide or discard her tracking gear. While rare, such episodes can occur under high stress. But there were no signs of psychological instability in Lauren's behavior, messages, or digital history. Her journal, recovered from the Airbnb, contained no disorganized thoughts or emotional red flags. She had pre-booked her return transportation, stocked adequate supplies, and even updated her cloud storage the night before the hike. If she disappeared intentionally, she left no preparation, no money moved, no aliases used, no false documents. And her digital footprint went cold the moment her Instagram story ended. The paranormal theory: supernatural entity or environmental anomaly. Iceland's volcanic highlands have long inspired local folklore: huldufolk, hidden people, guardian spirits, shadow figures said to appear on trails. While most Icelanders treat such legends with respectful humor, some hikers reported unsettling experiences: sounds without sources, feelings of being watched, sudden weather shifts in the same region where Lauren vanished. Forums lit up with speculation. Some pointed to electromagnetic interference possibly disabling her gear. Others theorized about a naturally occurring optical illusion, a false ridge caused by light refraction, possibly explaining the figure. But the image in Lauren's story remained unexplained. It matched no geological feature, no wildlife, no known phenomenon. It was vertical, shadowed, humanoid, and absolutely still. A Reddit user claimed to have seen a similar figure during a solo hike in 2019, not far from Godaland. It didn't feel like I was being followed. It felt like I'd already been found. The staged theory: social media hoax or art project. One minority theory suggests the entire disappearance was planned, an extreme performance art or digital illusion. This was fueled by Lauren's artistic background, her camera equipment, and the strange cinematic quality of the final story. But this theory collapses under scrutiny. Why vanish entirely? Why risk exposure, trauma to family, and legal consequences? Why leave behind income streams, brand deals, and loved ones? And above all, why do it in a country where such stunts would likely be lost in translation? There was no trace of staging, no automation in her post. Forensic analysts confirmed the upload came from her hand. The echo theory: a pattern hidden in the digital fog. One of the more compelling emerging theories was less about Lauren and more about others. In the months following her disappearance, online investigators began compiling other cases of hikers and travelers who vanished under similar conditions. A few patterns began to emerge. Solo travelers on remote trails. Final social media uploads with unexplained visuals. GPS glitches or sudden signal silence. One or more camera devices missing. From a narrative perspective, it felt like echoes, digital shadows repeating themselves. Nothing provable, nothing legally admissible, but chilling in its consistency. Conclusion: each theory answers some questions. None answer all. If Lauren fell, why no body? If she was stalked, how did they vanish? If she broke psychologically, why that day? That place? If it was something else, something we don't have language for, what does that say about all the other disappearances we explain away too easily? Theories help us cope, but they don't bring people back, and they don't erase the figure standing still on that ridge. 73 days after Lauren Avery vanished, a French drone pilot named Jules Moreau uploaded a 4K aerial montage to his YouTube travel channel. The footage, labeled simply Iceland Solo Fly in July 2024, featured sweeping shots of the Southern Highlands, captured during his 2-week backpacking trip through Thorsmork. The video received little attention at first. It was beautifully edited but standard for the genre. That changed when a Reddit user on RR Unresolved Mysteries, comparing terrain for a Lauren Avery discussion thread, noticed something in the frame 1436. The drone glides over the Vonnergeel ravine, the same general area where Lauren's GPS signal went dark. The camera banks slightly, capturing a mossy slope that slides into an overhang of black rock. And under that rock, half in shadow, something white and round glints for a fraction of a second. It looks like a camera lens. 4 days later, Jules confirmed the raw footage and shared the uncompressed clip. Investigators from the Icelandic National Police and ICSAR reviewed the coordinates. On August 8th, a 2-person descent team rappelled into the gully. At 10:41 a.m., they found a Canon EOS R7 partially buried beneath loose stone. Its lens was cracked, but the body was intact. Its serial number matched Lauren Avery's equipment inventory. The camera had been damaged, but the memory card was readable. Inside were 127 photos and 6 video clips. Most were consistent with her known location on May 22nd. High-resolution panoramas, self-timed shots with her camera on a tripod, and one video of her standing in front of a distant glacier, laughing as the wind tore through her jacket. But the final video file was different. Timestamp 1742 GMT, May 22nd, 2024, roughly 90 minutes before her Instagram story. It begins with Lauren facing the camera, wind roaring behind her. She's standing on a slope near a sharp drop, speaking softly, lips barely moving. Most of her words are lost to the wind, but a few break through. Don't think I imagined it. Not the first time. Same ridge. Then she turns the camera slowly and zooms. There it is again. The figure. Closer this time. Across the canyon, but still unmoving. Head slightly tilted. No visible clothing or features. Just an elongated human outline, like it's watching, but without intention to approach. Lauren doesn't speak for 12 seconds. Then she says, "I'm leaving. I'm done." The camera cuts. This clip never made it to the cloud, investigators believe Lauren filmed this with the Canon, not her phone. She likely captured the footage, then switched to her phone to post the shorter Instagram story. This longer video, raw, shaky, and unfiltered, was never meant to be seen. Its presence changed the tone of the investigation. Police returned to the site. Near the camera's location, they found a partial boot print preserved in packed moss. It matched Lauren's make and size. 4 meters beyond that, a shattered lens cap. Then, nothing. The pattern stopped abruptly, as if she had been lifted, not fallen, as if her trail ended mid-step. A second descent team searched the upper ridge where the figure had stood. It was accessible only with climbing gear and offered no natural platform. The spot in the video? It wasn't solid ground, just a narrow ledge barely wide enough for 1 foot. And yet the figure had been standing there, motionless. For how long? No evidence of recent human presence was found on the ledge. No loose gravel disturbed, no hair, no fibers, no camera tripod marks, nothing. Experts debated whether the figure could have been an illusion, an aberration of light and contrast. But image analysis found consistent shadows, logical scale, and dimensional integrity. It wasn't a light trick. Something stood there, something the camera saw. What it was, no one can say. And why Lauren chose to continue down that slope afterward, knowing it was watching, that remains the central, unanswerable question. Was it defiance, or was she trying to confront something? The footage was never released publicly. Only one still frame was shown during a family-approved Icelandic news segment, with the figure digitally blurred. Even with the censoring, the atmosphere was wrong. The image felt wrong. A cold ripple through the chest. Lauren's father, after watching the video privately, said, "She wasn't scared. Not exactly. But she wasn't safe. She knew something was off. She filmed it anyway. She didn't run." No body was found, no trace of Lauren beyond that camera, just one last piece of truth. She saw something real, and she walked toward it. As of November 2025, the disappearance of Lauren Avery remains classified as an open missing persons case by both Icelandic authorities and the FBI's Office of International Operations. There have been no confirmed sightings, no forensic evidence beyond the recovered camera, and no digital activity since her final known post on May 22, 2024. Her name remains active in Interpol's Yellow Notice database, and her biometric data is on file with both U.S. and Icelandic law enforcement in the event of a discovery. The Avery family continues to maintain a public website, findlaurenavery.org, serving as both a digital archive of her work and a portal for tips. The site includes a detailed timeline, trail maps, her known gear list, and a section called The Figure with enhanced screenshots from the final frame. Tips are reviewed in coordination with Icelandic police and a private investigator retained by the family. As of spring 2025, the site has logged over 700 submissions. Most are dead ends. A handful have led to new terrain sweeps, but none yielded results. Lauren's best friend Aisha now manages her digital legacy, including her Instagram. The account remains active, but locked. Followers cannot comment. The final story, once a live post, was archived by Instagram in accordance with a family request. It is no longer viewable, but the family retains a copy. In March 2025, Netflix approached the Averys for a documentary series on unexplained travel disappearances. They declined. "We don't want her tragedy to be a narrative tool," her father said. "She wasn't a symbol, she was a person." Despite the lack of closure, the Averys continue to visit Iceland once a year. They return to the trail, not to search, but to walk it, to leave a footprint where hers might have faded. In July 2025, hikers placed a discreet stone marker near the slope where her last GPS ping occurred. No inscription, just a small hand-painted compass, north tilted slightly off-center, a symbol for direction and how easily it can be lost. At the U.S. State Department, Lauren's case is flagged as a priority unresolved foreign disappearance. Once a year, a report is filed. Once a year, her photo resurfaces in internal bulletins. A young woman with steady eyes, wind-tangled hair, and the kind of gaze that makes you believe she saw something she couldn't explain. For her family, life has narrowed into two modes, before Iceland and after. They no longer expect answers, only that someone, somewhere might remember her story and look a little longer at the horizon before stepping forward. Because Lauren Avery isn't just a missing person, she is a presence that lingers. In every ridge that looks like a figure, in every photo that captures something no one else saw, and in every silence that feels heavier than it should. She was one of us, someone with a camera, a plan, and a quiet sense of wonder. A woman who knew the risks, who prepared, who respected nature and technology and solitude in equal measure. She didn't take foolish chances. She didn't court danger. She walked the world with open eyes. And somehow, despite all of that, Lauren Avery vanished. Not in chaos, not in storm, but in silence, in light. The kind of disappearance that leaves no sound, only a pause in the signal, only a shape on a ridge, only a frame that doesn't blink. Some believe she fell, some believe she was taken, some believe she chose to disappear, and some believe the truth is stranger than we're ready to accept. But no matter the theory, the outcome is the same. Lauren is gone, not because she made a mistake, but because something happened that shouldn't be possible. We live in a world mapped by satellites and traced by algorithms, where even strangers can know your location, your last steps, your breathless moment at a cliff's edge. And yet, Lauren Avery disappeared in front of all of us. Her camera recorded it, her phone uploaded it, her final image froze it in time, and still, we have nothing. No answer, only a question left on a ridge in Iceland. Her story is not an ending. It's a pressure, a weight, a call to look closer, not just at trails or technology, but at what we choose not to see when it doesn't fit our rules. So we ask you now, look at her photo, watch the footage again, stand on that overlook in your mind, feel the wind, hear the static, then ask yourself, what do you think happened to Lauren Avery? And if you were the one filming, what would you have done when the figure appeared?